As usual, my topics is a bit provocative, so please be prepared to challenge yourself. I'm here to talk about change. Sometimes change happens gradually or incrementally. Sometimes change happens drastically. It is like remodeling a house. We can do cosmetic changes to make it more appealing, such as using different paint colors, or we can do structural change to make it more functional, such as building a new kitchen or add on a new bathroom. Sometimes we may have to do both to add significant values to our homes. In this current world, besides the day-to-day human suffering, like what she ran into on the highway, we are also threatened existentially by the pandemic, war, violence, hunger, poverty, climate change, power corruption, attack on democracy, and deterioration of institutions that feel like the end of the world or apocalypse moment is here. When I first heard this term, apocalypse, it brought up a lot of fear and dread in me. If the end of the world is here, I worry that I might have to do something drastic to save myself. I feel desperate. I started to think small, become self-centered. I worry about scarcity. Many people probably think the same way. When species want to survive, they will do their best to conserve their resources and energy. This is natural. But it does not matter how much we try, we cannot survive and thrive alone. In Suzanne Samart's book, Finding Mother Tree, she wrote about the shared wisdoms of the forest, where trees share information and nutrients to survive. We humans often forget that, like all species on this planet, we need to rely on each other to survive. When we get overwhelmed by grief, despair, anger, and hatred beyond fear, we are alienated from our higher humanity. But life is not a zero-sum game. If we truly believe we are in this together and we are interconnected as one species and one system, we ought to know that we're not alone out here. To save ourselves as a group, not just individuals, we ought to open our hearts and pores to share our deepest resources, including love and compassion. When things fall apart, the world seems to come to an end. This is when real change can happen. This is the moment we need structural and drastic change, like the cocoon turning into a butterfly or a phoenix rising out of ashes from a fire. This ending can also present an amazing chance for bright beginning if we practice true interdependence. Let me explain. When the force, or the universe is like, has it following its own self-correcting principle, we call it. When the force is going to one extreme, the counter force will go to the other extreme. And eventually the universe will find its equilibrium by swinging back and forth. Remember the principle of infinity. This is how the universe works. We Chinese have an old saying. It says, it takes 50 years for things to flow on the one side, west side of the river, and it may take 50 more years to swing to the left side of the river. So it may just take 100 years for the universe to find its equilibrium. Whatever is broken will heal at the end. I came upon a poem, not sure what the author is. It is called What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Softer. See, I know you were expecting something. Part of it goes, when a vase breaks in Japan, it is glued back together with powdered gold. As if it says, trauma rips you apart, then reassemble you more beautifully. As if something good must always come out of suffering. Maybe the world needs to go through some of these apocalypse time to reach a point of renewal. That reminds me of a story of a man who visited his farmer friend. The farmer's dog was moaning next to him. He asked the farmer, "What's wrong with your dog?" The farmer said, "He's sitting on a nail." The man says, "Well, why doesn't the dog just get off the nail?" The farmer answered, "Because the pain is not high enough." Looking at your life, have you sat on a nail for a while now? Is your pain severe enough to propel you to change? Are we as a society? Where is our love and compassion toward ourselves and others? Remember the yin and yang principles. Life will not be so brilliant if it doesn't have the darkness as its background. We need not to be afraid of traveling in the darkness when this is the way to see the glory and the brightness in ourselves. I remember one of my darkest days long ago. I went to see my therapist. I asked her, "How do I know I've hit bottom?" She said, "When you do, you will know it, because there's nowhere else to go but up." At that time, I didn't realize how Zen-like this advice was. Often, something happens that wakes us up and changes our life, whether it's life-threatening illness, accident, or serious loss. This is when we know we have hit bottom. One of my life-changing moments happened when I lost my father and my job and walked away from an abusive marriage all in the same year. I had to sit down and take a very serious look at myself and my life. I had no choice but to listen to my inner self and figure out a way out and up. I'm grateful that a part of me didn't just let me fall through the bottom and let me die. Now, please lower your eyes, look at your heart, and recall the disruptive and transformative moment in your life. How did you come out to the other side? What personal growth did you gain? Are you ready and willing to meet that moment again? Maybe we, the world, needs to reach a point of extreme pain before we act to self-correct. The awakening consciousness, such as the women's protests in Iran and Turkey, and the anti-war and the noon against Putin's election in Russia, are some of the counter forces against generations of totalitarian regimes' brutality. On the other hand, the recent overturn of women's reproductive rights, book bannings, cancellation of DEI programs, and anti-LGBTQ law in the United States are some counter forces from the conservatives against the increasing diverse and progressive forces in this country. This is a natural rhythm of the universe. And hopefully we can triumph through the chaos and hardship as part of the vacillating process that the world is going through to find its new equilibrium. When things fall apart, this is when we need to stay awake for all the learning opportunities to show up. Gestalt psychology teaches the paradoxical theory of change. The theory can be summarized this way. Change happens when people become what they are, not when they try to become what they are not. In other words, we can't make ourselves and another change by force. We need to help ourselves and others to be congruent with our inner selves. When things go rough, this is also the time for us to discover who we really are and what our truth is at the highest level of our humanity. Change is an inside-out process. The principal change has two forces. One is a desire to change. The other is a resistance to change. Last week, Reverend Kent talked about how change takes time and patience. I want to talk about resistance to change. One of the resistance is fear of change. Recently, I got a chance to work as a palliative care chaplain in San Diego this summer. Although I know it's better for me to stay in San Diego instead of driving 3 hours every day for 3 months. I came face to face with my resistance to change. The truth is, as I get older, I really like to sleep in my own bed. Even temporary moving freaks me out. The truth is I no longer want the nomadic and bohemian life I used to have. Well, remember Stevie Nicks' song, Landslide? The part she sang, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I built my life around you. For me, I have built my life around stability of my house and my routine. I was so afraid of this disruption. But then, that is what transformation requires us to do, to be doing something radical. Plus, nothing stayed so stable or the same anyway. So the change is constant, like they say. It could be small as changing where I sleep for 3 months, or as big as going through life-threatening trauma. I realized any disruption can be a threat or an opportunity to grow. In the end, I chose the opportunity. Over 30 years, I worked as an external consultant to help my client organization change from the inside out. I helped them explore whether their business practice was congruent with their vision and value. One of my clients was an insurance company. For years, they never considered gay and lesbian population as potential customers until their market research told them that gay and lesbian markets are growing. So they developed an insurance product specifically for domestic and gay and lesbian partners. However, their organization's culture audit showed that their work environment continued to be homophobic and hostile towards gay and lesbian employees. Pretty soon, the consumers smell the hypocrisy and turn away from them. Real change must be built on congruity. You may wonder why I reference my business experience. I do it because the principle of change is the same for individuals and organizations. According to Gallup poll in 2000, 70% Americans claim that they belong to a religious institution. But in 2020, the number went down to 47%. This more than 20% decline within 20 years poses an existential threat to traditional religions. The reasons for this decline are many. We can all speculate. To change and grow like an organism, religious institutions need to do the same inside our work. They need to find out who they truly are and if what they do really serves the community. The good news is when other churches' attendance and membership are down, Unitarian Universalists have a perfect chance to become the sanctuary for those who are searching but allergic to the traditionally hierarchical and ritualistic system. Facing the declining trust in institutions, we use have an opportunity to become the island of sanity. We can step in and offer ourselves as the alternative. And because we practice democratic process and we welcome any traditions as an interfaith and humanistic organization. However, to grow our role in the world, we youth must be willing to change ourselves too in this trying time. How do we become more congruent to our true selves? We want to be of service. We want to share our 8 principles and 6 different sources. The question is, are we consistent in our practice? If we come up short, we need to examine our resistance to change. Resistance to change often comes from discomfort and fear of unknown that make us hang on tight to what we have and what we know. Fear has us do all kinds of things that alienate us further from our true self and others. We see dangers everywhere and are reluctant to take a chance, try new things, and take in new ideas from people who are different from us. Every time we say we have always done it this way, as an excuse to refuse to try new things, we're stuck. The strength of us you use lie in our intellect. We are firmly grounded in our fourth principle, which says we follow a free and responsible path to search for truth and meaning. You use typical live in our brains, and we're damn proud of it. We're not only intellectual, but also fiercely independent people who have a lot of opinions. We have a hard time trusting others because we think we have the right answers. The challenge is for us to come together and make change happen when there is no one right answer, and when we are willing to stay curious and come back to the unknown place that the Buddhists call ground zero. We say we're a welcoming congregation, open to everyone, but we need to examine how welcoming we are in the viewpoints and practice of those who are different from us based on education, race, culture, age, and political affiliations, just to name a few. Sometimes our strengths can become our resistance to change. The Chinese word of risk means danger and opportunity. At this dangerous time, our opportunity to change and grow is now. Yesterday's success formula may not work for us tomorrow. If we are not open enough to take in fresh and different ideas, can we grow and thrive beyond just survival? In Kevin Costner's movie, Field to Dream, I'm sure people are old enough to remember that movie, the voice said, "You build it, they'll come." To me, this is not some woo-woo stuff dreamed up by Hollywood. If we sit quietly enough and listen to ourselves, we'll hear the truth from the depth of ourselves. Our intuition and our insights will show us what kind of field we need to build. It is not just for our self-preservation. This field must be connected to the deep hunger and the need of our fellow humans in the universe. It is our mission at this moment of crisis. This is not a retail store that we keep open and hope the customers will find us. We must let our presence and our work be known and felt by the community we serve. Before I close, I have a few questions for people in this congregation. In this chaotic time, what does it take for you to see opportunities beyond the apocalypse? How do you want to change? What is your resistance to change? How ready are we as an organization to manage our resistance to change? Although this world seems scary right now, if we open the window and let some fresh air in, we may see the endless sky. Here is a quote from an early century monk. "The barn has burned down. Now I can see the moon." We cannot change the world by coercion or persuasion, but we can change the world by being in tune with what is hurting and hungry for and trying something what is need. This requires us to change ourselves softly, flow like a river, and be willing to keep our hearts and minds open. Thank you.